As a constitutional law attorney, former senior legal advisor and personal counsel to President Donald J. Trump, Jenna Ellis believes in the rule of law and the importance of integrity in our elections. And she's ready to tackle the big cultural and legal issues facing America. This is the Jenna Ellis Show. Here is your host, Jenna Ellis.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Jenna Ellis Show. I'm Jenna Ellis, and today is a chaotic and wild day in Washington, D.C., because for the first time in our nation's history, the Speaker of the House of Representatives has been ousted from his speakership. So Kevin McCarthy is no longer the Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives. 2 days ago, Representative Matt Gaetz from Florida filed that motion to vacate, and then yesterday, a lot of us, I think, were very surprised that a vote happened and that the Democrats, along with 11 Republicans, so an 8-vote majority, actually, they had eight as an overage, voted to oust Kevin McCarthy, and we are now without a Speaker of the House. So what does that mean in practical purposes? Well, the House can no longer conduct any business on the floor. So this means that no legislation can happen, no more aid to Ukraine, which I think is a fantastic thing, actually, and no other actual House business. Committees can run as long as the committee chairperson will authorize that. And Representative Jim Jordan sent out a letter earlier today talking about how the committees on weaponization as well as the impeachment inquiry will move forward, even pending another potential speaker vote. And Kevin McCarthy also came out last night and said that he will not seek to get back into his speakership. He will not run again for that office. So I had the privilege to speak with Representative Bob Good out of the great state of Virginia earlier today on my radio show. And I want to play that interview for you because he was one of the 11 Republicans that did vote to oust Kevin McCarthy. And there has been a lot of, I think, mixed feelings from the Republican contingents and, of course, the political talking class about the wisdom of what is going on right now in Washington, what's going to happen in terms of nominating a speaker that will actually win the majority vote. We went through 15 rounds back in January when Kevin McCarthy was attempting to secure that nomination and when he was attempting to secure that office, and whether or not the GOP contingent can actually come together and coalesce, where the Democrats are likely to put up Representative Hakeem Jeffries again, and whether or not they will get a few of the moderate Republicans to come over to their side is anybody's guess. It is possible that we could end up with a Democrat speaker. Very unlikely, but it's possible. So the U.S. Constitution in Article 1, Section 2.5 talks about the Speaker of the House, and I want to read that to you. It says, the House of Representatives shall choose their Speaker and other officers and have the sole power of impeachment. So often when we talk about Article 1, Section 2.5, that's known as the impeachment clause, but it's also referring to the Speaker as a constitutional officer. So the House of Representatives, by their own rules, will select a Speaker, and the Speaker doesn't have to be a member constitutionally. Just like, for example, in Article 3, when we're dealing with federal judges, there's no constitutional requirement that federal judges or even U.S. Supreme Court justices have to be lawyers. The bar exam and all of the professional responsibility portion, character and fitness test, all of these other things that went into the profession of law and licensing to practice didn't happen until later on in America's history. And so very interestingly, a lot of these different constitutional offices don't have the requirements that have just become more traditional. So it has been the legacy of the House to choose among its members, but theoretically, we could see another nomination of former President Trump. Will he get the majority vote? Probably not, is my guess, because the last time during McCarthy's attempt at the speakership, he only got about 4 votes each round, President Trump, that is. So those types of equations may not really have a lot of traction, but it's going to be very interesting to see how this unfolds. So as of right now, Representative Steve Scalise has put his hat in the ring, and we'll see if others, people are suggesting Jim Jordan. He said that he doesn't want to be the speaker. And of course, McCarthy has said that he is not going to throw his hat back in the ring to try to regain his speakership after being ousted. probably a wise idea, but it's going to be very interesting to see how this progresses and also how long this takes, because we are in the midst of that 45-day period for the continuing resolution. Once that runs out, we do have a government shutdown. If you're conservative like me, well, shutting down the government isn't necessarily a bad thing because the essential functions like national security and other things will still continue. We just get to, not have the IRS for a while. We get to not have some of these other deep state bureaucrats that maybe we shouldn't be funding anyway. So with that, let's take a quick break, and I'll be right back with Representative Bob Good. And I asked him specifically, did they know going into that vote that they had the majority to oust Kevin McCarthy? And his response was very interesting. So stick around. He'll be with us right after this. With inflation, the banking world collapse, and everything that Joe Biden is doing not to protect America, you need to make sure to secure your financial health, especially in retirement. And hey, if you're a millennial like me, that actually is sooner than you think. You need to start now, even if you are a millennial or a Gen Zer, to make sure that your financial health is actually healthy when we get to retirement. And Legacy Precious Metals has a revolutionary new online platform that allows you to invest in gold and silver online in real time. In a few easy steps, you can open an account online, select your metals of choice, and choose to have them stored in a vault or shipped right to your door. You'll have access to a dashboard where you can track your portfolio growth in real time anytime. You'll see transparent pricing on each coin and bar, and this puts you in complete control of your money. The platform is free to sign up for. Visit legacypminvestments.com and open your account and see this new investing platform for yourself. Gold hedges against inflation and against a volatile stock market. A truly diversified portfolio isn't just more stocks and bonds, but different asset classes. This brand new platform allows you to make investments in gold and silver, no matter how small or large, with just a few clicks. Visit legacypm.com to get started. You can download the free investor's guide, and you can also call Legacy PM Investments to talk to a portfolio expert to get expert answers to to customize your personal portfolio. So visit legacypminvestments.com to get started. Tell them that Jenna sent you.
It is the first morning that Speaker Kevin McCarthy is no longer Speaker of the House. In an historic vote yesterday, Kevin McCarthy was stripped of his gavel, and Matt Gaetz from Florida, the representative, filed that motion to vacate the chair. And while a lot of us, myself included, thought it was just political posturing, he must have known that he had the votes, because he could have lost 8 and still stripped Kevin McCarthy of that speakership. So the question is, where do we go from here? And as I was watching mainstream media last night, particularly Fox News, it was interesting to see a lot of the hosts even who were really coming down hard on Matt Gaetz, who appeared there, and a few others saying that this was just chaotic and this was something that was going to fracture the GOP, and what's going on, what's the plan forward. So joining me now is Representative Bob Good from the great state of Virginia, friend of the show, and he was one who did vote to oust Kevin McCarthy. So I want to bring him on and ask that question. Is this just all about chaos and trying to oust someone over personal differences, or what is actually going on in Washington, sir?
Thank you for having me. Great to be with you again. This was about striking a blow against the swamp cartel, the uniparty system in Washington that is not working for the American people, that's failing the country, that has given us $33 trillion in national debt, and frankly, a Republican leadership system that we warned about back in January during the speaker battle, and then that was unfortunately repeated with the terrible debt ceiling agreement and then the continuing resolution that was passed, both of which were with overwhelmingly Democrat votes, repeating the failures of the past when Republicans have had majorities, and that we were just unwilling to continue the status quo. It's unsustainable. You know, sometimes you'll hear people say, oh, well, you're not getting things done now, as if disrupting Washington for a week or even a couple of weeks is catastrophic, when most of what we do in Washington is harmful to the American people, literally. And with the Democrats controlling the Senate and Biden in the White House, and until yesterday, a speaker with a total, complete unwillingness to fight, to say no, then what is it that we were doing that you were, not you, but whomever is criticizing, was so eager for us to continue to do and not to disrupt the apple cart? But this was historic. It's never happened before in the history of the country. And we now have an opportunity to come together and select a David instead of a Saul, and to prayerfully select whom the Lord would raise up to be the best person to be the speaker. We will be vetting candidates and meeting with candidates, and then have a candidate forum on Tuesday night. We'll actually have a competition and a contest for someone to earn the support of the majority of the conference, Republican conference, instead of it being a coronation of the next person in line, who's kind of played the system and who's the greatest reflection of the swamp system, the greatest swamp creature, if you will. This will be very different come Tuesday evening when we have that candidate forum.
And that makes a lot of sense. And so, that's a different response than what a lot of people, I think, were considering, because the status quo typically in Congress is that there is sort of an heir apparent to the speakership and someone who's been a donor and very well known in the party, and someone who has sort of, almost like Hillary Clinton when her whole campaign was, it's my turn, basically. And that was the attitude, I think, of Kevin McCarthy. And so to actually have a contest instead of just the next person in line, I think does make a lot of sense. But that's what is concerning to some people, is saying, well, in the next couple of weeks, and we do only have this continuing resolution for 45 days, is there a concern that this might end up or result in leadership that is just as ineffective in terms of getting things done and being able to push through the conservative agenda? Or are we thinking that there will be someone who will actually want the speakership and earn it that can truly coalesce the party?
Well, I will acknowledge that it is temporarily disruptive, and it is temporarily uncomfortable, painful to go through such a significant transition. I've likened it to, you have a terminal patient that is going to die, and it's not sustainable left to itself, and we've got to do radical surgery to try to save the patient. And there are some who are unwilling to do the surgery because it's uncomfortable, it's disruptive, it's invasive, it's painful. If the patient woke up halfway through the surgery, they'd probably tell you to stop. But and there's a temporary recovery period, inactivity period, if you will, as you're trying to get through that surgery, but you are confident you'll be better on the other side. So while I will acknowledge that to whatever degree you might believe, or someone might believe, that Speaker McCarthy was going to work over these next 45 days to lead us to do what he had not done for the previous 9 months, and lead the conference with the pressure relieved of a government shutdown, which he and some of the conference greatly feared above all else, that pressure having been relieved till November 17, that we were suddenly somehow going to come together and do that which we had long promised but failed to follow through on. So to whatever degree that might have happened in these next couple of 3 weeks or what have you, that is temporarily disrupted. However, I believe very strongly that in the long term, that we have an opportunity to actually fight against the White House and the Democrats in the Senate, and we're not going to win everything when you control one house, but we expect to win something, and we don't expect to pass major spending bills with overwhelmingly Democrat votes, predominantly Democrat votes, which again is what happened with the debt ceiling and what happened with the failed Responsibility Act for the debt ceiling, as well as the continuing resolution this past Saturday. And with Speaker McCarthy, I am very confident that we would have gotten no bills passed over these next 45 days, because he had not led us previously to do that, and that we would have gotten another continuing resolution, then the omnibus in December. And then we would have had the same leadership next year that would have said, okay, we can't fight during election year because we got to win the election, but we'll fight if we win. And we just continue to fail the American people and see the national debt, rise by $2 trillion a year without any efforts from us to do anything about it, not to mention to secure the border and to reverse the policies under which the American people are suffering. And so while I'll acknowledge there's temporary disruption, I think the long-term gain is well worth that.
And I'm speaking with Representative Bob Good of the great state of Virginia, who is one that voted to oust McCarthy. And take us then behind the scenes, because like I said in the opening, there were a lot of people that thought that this was just a one-man sort of Matt Gaetz show, and that this motion to vacate was never going to get anywhere. So I think it took the nation by surprise that there was this coalition that was willing to oust Kevin McCarthy. And so was this known, and did you all go into the vote knowing that you had the votes to vacate the chair?
Well, for weeks now, really months now, we have begged and pleaded, literally begged and pleaded with the Speaker to lead us, to stand strong, to fight, to tell the conference, hey, I need you to hang with me. We're going to stare down the Democrats. We're going to stare down the White House. We're not going to cave. We're going to pass, as he promised to do, all of our bills on time at the lowest spending levels that we can with the most conservative policies that we can, send them to the Senate, and then say no. And say no to the Senate that we're not going to cave, and let's go into negotiation, and let's fight, and maybe we get some portion. Maybe it's half, maybe it's 75%, how strong, but something, 25% even. And he failed to do that. And so we continued to let him know that we expected – we intended to hold him accountable to the commitments he made in January to become Speaker, to bring a balanced budget to the floor. He didn't do that. To pass all 12 of our appropriation bills and send them to the Senate. He didn't do that. To cut spending to pre-COVID levels for non-defense discretionary. He didn't do that. And many more. And so this should not have been a surprise. But in recent days, as you saw and heard, the Speaker began to taunt us and say, hey, bring it on, just do it. And he even's cursing and dropping F-bombs in our conference meetings about, bring the effing motion to vacate. And I've only seen him get angry twice and use fighting words like that twice. And that was both times when he felt like his speakership was threatened. Because to your point earlier about someone being sort of next in line, I think he felt entitled, deserving, and no one else could be Speaker. So I commend Matt Gaetz for having the courage to be the one that filed the motion. I had stated I would support that if that took place. I would not vote to defend Kevin McCarthy. There was no basis to defend Kevin McCarthy in my view. I believe that we will be more united after we have a new Speaker. Again, this is not an easy process. There's emotions are high and there's challenges ahead. But the status quo was destroying the country and was unsustainable. Transformational change was needed, is being demanded by Americans all across the country. And we've got to be willing to take some risks to effectuate that. We can't just watch the country die a slow death.
Well, thank you for your courage, Representative Bob Good, because there are a lot of people who on the other side who do either support Kevin McCarthy or think that this is just giving the Democrats a talking point of, the GOP is in chaos, and thinking, okay, as soon as there's another speaker, the news cycle will be 5 minutes, and nobody's even talking about the fight over the speaker that was earlier this January. I mean, things have continued on. So the question then is, what about the government shutdown? Because in your view, if this takes a couple of weeks to get a new speaker and the time for the continuing resolution runs out, I think I speak for a lot of Americans that we think government should be smaller and can be smaller. So if there is some shutdowns, I mean, certain things that are genuinely essential, not essential in the nature of how COVID tyrants tried to say essential, would be temporarily closed. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. So where does this leave us just in the next, I guess, couple of months until the end of the year?
Well, great question. And the final straw for me with Speaker McCarthy this past Friday was when he made it very clear in our conference meeting that he would do anything, and I do mean anything, to avoid any type of, I'll say shutdown, but really a temporary pause in government operations for the 15% of government that's considered non-essential, while the other 85% continues to hum along. And, Social Security continues, Medicare, veterans benefits, and so forth. And that's a scare tactic sensationalized by many of folks in the mainstream media that want to, fearmonger and try to put pressure on conservatives to cave to Democrat demands. And what I've said for months now is we shouldn't fear a government shutdown in the sense that we're willing to do more harm to the country to avoid it If the Democrats say no and we say no to our starting positions to have a negotiation, then you may have a temporary government shutdown or it's a partial pause in operations as negotiations take place. But we can't be the party that just suddenly caves out of fear and does whatever the Democrats want to do, and that's what we did this past Saturday. That's what we've done historically, and that's how you get to $33 trillion in national debt.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense to actually stand firm, and even though there isn't a majority in both houses, to be able to use the power that you do have and even the slim majority that you have in the House to not cave to Democrats. And I think that is something that every conservative would like to see, and we'd like to see some wins. So Representative Bob Good, really appreciate your time today and continue in the fight. And just last question really quickly, there have been some back and forth on whether the committees on impeachment and weaponization of government and all of that will continue while there is a pause on House business while you elect a new speaker. Will those continue?
They absolutely can. The only thing that's prohibited to us is we cannot be on the floor taking action and honestly passing bills that aren't going to pass the Senate in all likelihood, certainly not anytime soon. That's paused until we get the speaker elected. But committees can operate, committees can function. That'll be up to the committee chairman to manage that, oversee that, and I don't know what that'll look like committee by committee.
Okay, well, sounds good, and we'll look forward to the vote. Thank you so much, and again, thank you for your courage in standing firm. We all really appreciate that you actually want to get things done for the American people in Washington.
With inflation, the banking world collapse, and everything that Joe Biden is doing not to protect America, you need to make sure to secure your financial health, especially in retirement. And hey, if you're a millennial like me, that actually is sooner than you think. You need to start now, even if you are a millennial or a Gen Zer, to make sure that your financial health is actually healthy when we get to retirement. And Legacy Precious Metals has a revolutionary new online platform that allows you to invest in gold and silver online in real time. In a few easy steps, you can open an account online, select your metals of choice, and choose to have them stored in a vault or shipped right to your door. You'll have access to a dashboard where you can track your portfolio growth in real time anytime. You'll see transparent pricing on each coin and bar, and this puts you in complete control of your money. The platform is free to sign up for. Visit legacypminvestments.com and open your account and see this new investing platform for yourself. Gold hedges against inflation and against a volatile stock market. A truly diversified portfolio isn't just more stocks and bonds, but different asset classes. This brand new platform allows you to make investments in gold and silver, no matter how small or large, with just a few clicks. Visit legacypm.com to get started. You can download the free investor's guide, and you can also call Legacy PM Investments to talk to a portfolio expert to get expert answers to your to customize your personal portfolio. So visit legacypminvestments.com to get started. Tell them that Jenna sent you.
On MyPillow's 20-year anniversary with over 80 million MyPillows sold, Mike Lindell wants to thank each and every one of you by giving you the lowest price in history on his MyPillows. You will receive a queen-size MyPillow for only $19.98. The regular price is $69.98 and just $10 more for a king size. You'll receive deep discounts on all MyPillow products such as bed sheets, mattress toppers, pet beds, mattresses, my slippers, which I love, and so much more. This is the time to try out some of the amazing products you've had your eye on from MyPillow. So go to mypillow.com and enter promo code Jenna to receive this amazing offer on the queen size MyPillow for $19.98. You can go to mypillow.com or call 1-800-564-8475. Be sure to use the promo code Jenna. This offer comes with a 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee. It's time to start getting the quality sleep you deserve. This offer comes with a 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee. It's time to start getting the quality sleep you deserve. Go to mypillow.com, use the promo code Jenna.
When the government used emergency edicts during COVID to restrict the gathering and worship of churches, 3 pastors facing the risk of imprisonment, unlimited fines, and their own churches being ripped apart, took a courageous stand and reopened their doors in the face of a world that chose to comply. The Essential Church is a feature-length documentary that explores the struggle between the church and government throughout history. This fascinating story uncovers those who've sacrificed their lives throughout history for what they truly believe in. Rediscover why the church is essential and how we prove that this stand remains true from a scientific, legal, and most importantly, biblical perspective. This is not your typical movie. It'll change your life. You need to see this movie with your friends and family. The Essential Church is streaming today exclusively at salemnow.com. That's Essential Church, streaming at salemnow.com.